Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for...
It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Happy Wednesday. Happy pre-Independence Day. That's right, tomorrow, July 4th. I don't know what my plans are, but I know I'm eating a lot of food, a lot of good food. I know I'm sleeping in, and yeah, that's really it. That's the best part about July 4th. You know, I'm past the days of fireworks. You know, I'm past the days of shooting Roman candles at my buddies in, you know, the middle of a dry field that's probably highly flammable. Past those days. I want to sleep in. I want to grill out. I want to eat good food, and I want to not set things on fire like I did way back in the day. Speaking of being on fire, the WNBA. People are tuning in. They're enjoying it. I find myself enjoying watching the games. And if you've been how do I put this lightly? If you've been a hater of the WNBA, if you haven't appreciated the product, that's fine. You don't have to like the product. But you do have to, at some point, admit that people are tuning in and watching this. And we're seeing it through the All-Star voting. Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell, all three obviously play for the Fever. All three of them have been selected to this year's WNBA All-Star team. This is obviously Caitlin Clark's first selection, but it is Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell's second selection to the All-Star team. And quite frankly, it is not at all surprising that all three of them made the All-Star team. People have tuned in and shown up to watch the Fever play all year long. There's a clip, actually, from the Fever's post-game press conference last night where a reporter is starting to pose this question. And in the middle of the question, he's like, this is the largest crowd they've ever had at this stadium. This is the largest crowd the Aces have ever played in front of. And while he's kind of explaining this, you can hear Aaliyah Boston go, let's go Fever, because that's why people are showing up. That's why people are tuning in. They want to watch the Fever. They want to watch Caitlin Clark. Right? And so because of that, people are consistently tuning in and watching the Fever play. And this is obviously the Caitlin Clark effect in full swing. Okay, people are tuning in to watch Caitlin Clark. It's not about Aaliyah Boston or Kelsey Mitchell or anyone else on the Indiana Fever's team. It's about Caitlin Clark. But obviously, because they're tuning in to see Caitlin Clark, they're getting to see Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. And that's leading to them having a larger fan base. And that's leading to Aaliyah Boston having the third most All-Star votes of any other player in the league. It's what leads to Kelsey Mitchell, the third option on, you know, the ninth best team in the WNBA. That's what leads to her being selected to the All-Star team. Okay? Like a rising tide lifts all boats, right? That's kind of the phrase that's been thrown out for this Indiana Fever team. And really for the WNBA in general. Caitlin Clark has shown up and everyone has reaped the benefits of it. And including me. Like I've enjoyed watching these games. I have. When it comes to Caitlin Clark, though, it's not at all surprising that she was selected to the All-Star team. Like I think everyone knew she was going to be an All-Star before the season started because, like the NBA, fan voting has a major impact on who is and who is not an All-Star. So not at all surprising that Caitlin Clark is an All-Star, and it's not at all surprising that she also had the most votes of anyone. She had more votes than anybody else. She had over 700,000 votes, which, like, that's a lot. When you compare it to the NBA numbers, it's a little less staggering. But when you compare it to the voting turnout last year for the WNBA All-Star game, I think it really kind of puts things in perspective. Last year, A'ja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces, she's an absolute beast. She tore up the Fever last night. We're going to talk about her coming up here at some point today. Last year, A'ja Wilson had the most votes to be an All-Star in the WNBA, and she only got 95,000 votes. That's it. This year, Caitlin Clark led the way. She had the most All-Star votes with over 700,000. Okay, that is 7 times the amount. In fact, if you add up the top 5 All-Star vote getters from last year, you add up all the total votes between the 5, It is less than the 700,000 votes that Caitlin Clark got this year by about 250,000 votes. Okay, which is just insane. The top 5 vote getters this year received over 2 million more votes than the top 5 vote getters did from last year. The Caitlin Clark effect, my friends. It's in full swing. Like, this is just more proof that Caitlin Clark is uplifting everyone in the league, not just herself, not just white people, not just women, everybody in the league. She is lifting everybody else up. Okay, the eyes on her are spreading to other people. Like, honestly, before last night, I had never seen A'ja Wilson play basketball. She's won like a couple MVPs in the WNBA. She's an absolute beast. I'd never seen her play before. But last night, I watched her play for the first time. Okay, I had seen more clips of Kelsey Plum off the court than I had seen of her on the court. And I look up and I watched her play for the first time last night. I was like, oh, she's pretty good. You know, it makes sense that she was once upon a time the leading scorer in women's college basketball history. Okay, the eyes on Caitlin Clark are spreading to other people. The viewing numbers that came out last month support this idea as well. And now we're seeing people actually engage with the league in a way that we've never seen before. I know that it's just All-Star votes, but it's one thing to sit down and take time out of your day to watch a game. Okay, but here's the thing. Like, when people turn games on, they do all sorts of stuff. You know, they'll turn it on and they'll look on their phone. They'll turn it on and they'll work on stuff. I do that all the time. Like last night, I had the game going while I was prepping for today's show because that's just kind of the way that I like to work, right? And so there's a difference, though. When people take the time out of their day to go and vote for something, okay, like that is a much bigger deal because you have to be consciously thinking about it. Okay, like I guarantee you there are people out there who don't care enough about the country to go out and vote in elections. But there are people out there that care enough to vote for the WNBA All-Star game, which is kind of crazy. But it shows the investment that people have. It shows the interest that they have to take time out of their day to go to some website and type out the names of the people that they want to vote for. Okay, like that means something. Right? So I think this is a great thing. And here's the thing. The Fever are good. They are a good team. And because of that, people are going to continue to watch. They're in the middle of a tough 5-game stretch. They lost the first game of it last night, but they've got several other tough games kind of coming down the pipe. So people are going to continue to watch, and they're going to continue to see these other women that are good basketball players. Right? And here's the thing, like, because they're good and because people are engaged, then people are going to continue to discuss them on shows like this one and on ESPN and Fox Sports and, you know, wherever you decide to get your content. And that matters. Okay? Because people don't talk about things that aren't interesting. Okay? And people want to watch interesting things. And having people discuss the product or a product leads to more people watching it. Like, for me, 90% of the TV shows and movies that I watch are not because of trailers. It's not because of actors or actresses. I don't really care about who's in what movie or TV show. I just care if it's good. And how do I know that it's good? My friends, my family will come up to me and be like, hey, Jonathan, I know that you like watching TV shows. I know that you like watching movies. Dune, you got to go see it. Okay, it's fantastic. Oh, okay, sounds good. Okay, 90% of the TV shows and movies that I watch are because people tell me about them. And I think that that's how most people are. Okay, we don't go out of our way to do something new unless we are first told about it. And I think that sports talk has the exact same effect. When people hear about something repeatedly, eventually they become curious. And then they give whatever is being talked about a chance. And if you've seen Caitlin Clark play, you know that she pulls people in and she grabs their attention almost immediately because of her entertaining style of play. Okay, and as people watch her, they slowly but surely get exposed to the rest of the WNBA, and that leads to the growth of the league, which is a good thing, right? The WNBA is still moving in a positive direction. You know, they've got till September 5th. They've got like 2 months because as soon as the NFL season starts, you're done. people aren't going to care as much. They're going to be watching Mahomes and hopefully Anthony Richardson and Josh Allen and these dudes throw a million touchdown passes this year, right? Because that's ultimately what we want. But hey, I'm not mad at the WNBA. I like having something to watch during the summer months because let's be honest, who cares about game 94 of the Major League Baseball season? I'm talking about that later, by the way. So stay tuned for that. That's probably going to come up at the end of the hour. Staying with the Fever. They went on the road last night to play against the Las Vegas Aces. They lost. They got kind of beaten up on late in the game, but for the most part, they hung tough with a really good Las Vegas Aces team, right? Back-to-back WNBA champs. They're looking for the three-peat. The Indiana Fever lost last night by 19, right? They lost 88-69. Like, that doesn't fully, I think, represent how the game went, though. Okay, like they were down by 6 entering the fourth quarter, and the Aces just kind of went to a level that the Fever can't go to yet. And a large part of that is because the Fever played against the best women's player in the world last night. A'ja Wilson absolutely dominated, and so did Kelsey Plum. A'ja Wilson, 28 points, 9 rebounds, 5 blocks, dominated on both ends of the floor. Really good player. Finishes around the rim, can hit like a 15-footer. Like there's a reason why she's the best player in the world. She obviously protects the rim. She had 5 blocks, which is that's pretty good. It's pretty good. And then Kelsey Plum went absolutely nuts shooting the ball. She scored 34 points, which is that's pretty crazy. She hit 6 of 11 threes. I mean, she just lit it up. Ultimately, though, the Aces beat the Fever because they got stops in the fourth quarter, and the Fever didn't. And if you want to beat the best teams in the league, in any sport, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, badminton, pickleball, whatever, like you have to find ways to get stops. And the Fever didn't do that. And they ended up getting blown out in the fourth quarter because of it. In fact, I mean, I think they only scored 10 points in the fourth quarter. The Fever did, and they gave up 23. Hard to win games when you get outscored by 13 in the fourth quarter. I think the other thing that I've noticed watching this Fever team throughout the year is that their best players they're up and down. And that's okay. Young players tend to be inconsistent. People, when they do something new or they do something at a higher level for the first time, they can be inconsistent. They can go up and down. I bet you guys listen to this show someday and you're like, wow, that was really good. And then other days you're like, I don't know if that was really good. Because, young people, when they do new things and they compete at higher levels, they just kind of tend to go up and down, right? And the Fever entered the fourth quarter down by 6. They played a really good first 3 quarters, and then they entered the fourth, and the Aces put them away rather quickly. And that is what experienced teams do. Okay, the Aces, they're looking to three-peat. They have a ton of experience. They have a ton of talent, and it showed late in that game. Okay, the Fever were able to stay in the game for the first 3 quarters, but in the fourth, when it was nut crunching time, when you needed buckets, when you needed stops, the Fever just couldn't play at that level. The Aces just went to a different place and really showed that they are one of the best, if not the best team in the WNBA. And it also didn't help that Caitlin Clark didn't shoot very well, and she turned the ball over a lot again. She has to be more consistent shooting the ball. And she has to cut down on the turnovers. She shot 4 of 12 from the field, which is not great. And she was only 1 of 7 from 3. And look, I know it's hard for her to get shots off. She's getting double teamed, and they're trapping her whenever she has the ball, and teams are kind of making her go right. That way she can't get to that, side step back 3-point shot that she loves. And I get it. It's hard, but you have to get downhill, get to the rim, finish inside. You got to figure out another way to score. If they're going to let you go right, your dominant hand, then go get a layup or something. And then, the 107 from 3, shots don't fall sometimes. Steph Curry has bad night shooting. It happens. But the 6 turnovers, that is still the thing that's concerning. Okay, at some point, she has got to figure out a way to cut down on the turnovers. I mean, that's not fun. You got to figure out a way to cut those down. Every other part of her game is great. She's a great passer. Off shooting nights, like, they happen, when you're being doubled and trapped and chased and grabbed and pulled the way that Kate 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 Caitlin Clark is. Okay? It's just kind of the way it goes. So I'm not worried about the shooting. Like, she's going to get that figured out. I'm way more concerned about the turnovers, right? Because it doesn't seem like those are going away. It was one of those things where early it's like, yeah, early, new league, better players, adjusting to the speed of the game, all those things. But those turnovers aren't going away. She leads the league in turnovers per game, and we're halfway through the year. Okay, like she's got to figure out some sort of way to take better care of the basketball, right? Because like that's 6 possessions that you just kind of gave up, and you can't do that. And I know early in the year, it was very easy to kind of blame her teammates, like, oh, like they aren't catching the ball and all that stuff. I watched every minute of last night's game. Those 6 turnovers on her, not on her teammates. Okay, it's like she has to play better. Leah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, they played well again. They've really played well over the past, month or so. But no one else did. Mitchell hit 5 of the Fever's 6 threes. Clark hit the other one. Everyone else was 0 of 9. Like, you have to get contributions from your other players, and you have to find ways to get stops. Okay, they gave up 88 points. It's a lot of points. And it's hard to outscore the defending champs. Like, it's hard to outscore a team that scored 88 points. Like, that is difficult. That is not an easy thing to do. So, gotta defend better. Gotta find a way for the role players to step up. Aaliyah Boston, 18 points, 11 rebounds. She's been much better as of late. Kelsey Mitchell continues to play well. 23 points, 5 of 10 from 3, 9 of 20 from the floor. I mean, she's playing really well. Caitlin got to be a little more consistent on the shooting, and she's got to stop turning the basketball over. But there's a lot of potential with this team, and potential is a word that continues to be thrown out for a lot of players in the NBA, including a new player that the Pacers signed yesterday. Look, you can talk about potential all you want, but some guys just don't have it, and teams will tell you if they're good or not. And I think it's pretty evident that James Wiseman, the Pacers' newest player, isn't very good. And I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Unadulterated sports talk with unfiltered takes. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Let's talk Pacers signing James Wiseman to a 2-year deal. People are excited. Don't fall for it. Do not fall for the James Wiseman hype. Okay, I did a whole Top 10 Tuesday on this yesterday. Okay, there are buzzwords designed to get you and me and other fans excited about different players and different teams. Don't fall for it. Okay, you're going to hear, oh, James Wiseman, he's young. He's got a lot of potential. Ignore that. Ignore it. Okay, don't listen to it. You're going to hear, oh, James Wiseman, 7 feet tall. Pretty good touch, man. He's got a lot of the tools that you're looking for in a modern day NBA center. Don't listen to it. Ignore them. Ignore them. Hey, I know he didn't pan out the other two places, but James Wiseman has a lot of upside. A lot of upside. Yeah, don't listen to it. Don't fall for it. Okay, this is the time of year where people get bored, and so they say outlandish things about different players in order to try and generate hype for the next NBA season. We've seen this with the NFL as well, right? Like, why do you think everyone is saying that people are sleeping on Anthony Richardson? Because it's July, right? And eventually you just run out of things to say. And so you have to say something completely and totally insane, okay? And that's like, people are already running out of things to say, apparently, because they're so excited about James Wiseman. And like he's not, no, like I promise, he's not that great. I promise you. Okay? Like you're going to hear about how much talent James Wiseman has. You're going to hear about how he's a former number 2 overall pick and how he has so much potential, and he's, big and he's athletic and he can do all these different things, and if he couldn't, then he wouldn't have been the number 2 overall pick. So look, I'm a big believer in the idea that teams will tell you the truth. Okay, teams will tell you how good or how bad someone is. Jobs and places do the exact same thing. Like if my boss came down here and he fired me, that would probably communicate to you that I'm not very good at my job. Okay, if your boss fired someone else in your building, and you'd probably sit there and be like, yeah, he wasn't very good at his job anyway. Okay? So like that's just kind of how these things work. That's how it works in sports. Coaches and GMs will tell you who's good and who isn't. Okay, like I talked about this during the Power Hour on Monday on Dan's show with him and Kent. Someone called in. Apologies for not remembering the name, but they called in and they tried to defend Sam Ehlinger. They tried to tell me, Kent, and Dan that Sam Ehlinger was good. That if they only gave him a chance, he was like, 20 of 29 in his first game or whatever it was. It's like, if they only gave him a chance, he'd be good. Well, here's the thing. If Sam Ehlinger was good, then the Colts wouldn't have brought in Joe Flacco to be the backup this year. They wouldn't have done that. Okay? And it's the same thing in the NBA. If the Warriors thought that Klay Thompson was still one of the better players in the NBA, then they would have paid him and brought him back to play with Draymond Green and Stephen Curry. The fact that they didn't communicates to me and probably communicates to you that he's not as good as he used to be, right? Because if he was, then the Warriors would have brought him back. If the Vikings thought that Kirk Cousins was good enough to get them to a Super Bowl, then they never would have replaced him with J.J. McCarthy. Teams, NFL, NBA, MLB, whatever, teams will tell you how good or bad a player is. And you're right, Jonathan, then why'd he get selected number 2 overall? Like that means he's good, right? In theory, yes, but that was a weird draft. I'm going to get into that here in a minute. But first, let's look at James Wiseman's NBA career. It is littered with situations where the teams he has played for have made it clear that they don't think he's very good. The Warriors barely played James Wiseman. Barely played for him. Okay? Like he appeared in like half their games. I know he missed an entire season because I think he had a knee injury. But like even when he was available, they didn't play him. Okay? He played a lot in the G League. I know people are complaining about Jarris Walker playing in the G League and not being ready immediately. The former number 2 overall pick spent time in the G League, okay? And like I think when it comes to number 2 overall picks, that's what you need to know. And the Warriors needed a center at the time too, and they're still like, nope, we're not going to put you out there. Sorry. And they eventually traded him. If the Warriors thought that James Wiseman was capable of contributing to a playoff win either that year or down the road, they wouldn't have traded him. Okay? When he went and played for the Pistons, the worst team in the NBA, a team that didn't even win 15 games last year, when he went and played for the Pistons, he barely played. He appeared in 63 games this year, which is the most he's appeared in at any point of his career. And he only started 6 of them on the worst team in the NBA. He played on average 17 minutes a night for a team that only won 14 games this year. Okay? Do not, telling you, do not, under any circumstance, buy into this hype about James Wiseman. Okay? The Pistons are in the process of rebuilding. They're just looking for good players to grab and hold on to, right? And it's even better if they're young, like James Wiseman. If James Wiseman had shown any flashes of being able to be a part of a young core, then the Pistons would have kept him. They had a ton of cap space. They had the money to pay him because he didn't cost that much. He wasn't that expensive. Instead, free agency got here, and they're like, you know what? We don't really need you. We'll see you. Good luck. We aren't going to extend you. We aren't even going to make you an offer. No, you can just leave. We'll let you leave for nothing, which is the ultimate sign. That teams don't care for a guy. Okay, because even when an asset is bad, teams will still trade it away for a second-round pick. That way they can say that they got something in return. But when it came to the Pistons, they're like, no, we don't need you, James Wiseman. We will see you later. Okay, and if they thought there was any chance he would develop into a good player or a better player than what he currently is, they would have kept him. But instead, they let him opt into free agency. The Pacers are going to be the 3rd team that he has played for, and he's entering the 5th year of his career. He's entering journeyman territory. That's kind of what he's set up to do right now. Sign a whole bunch of short 1, 2, 3-year deals and bounce around the league. Do you need to know much more about a guy than the fact that he's about to play on his 3rd team in 5 years? That's insane. And yes, say, well, Jonathan, he was drafted 2nd overall. He's clearly good. He clearly has some sort of talent and some sort of NBA ability. And I'm going to push back on that because the 2020 draft was weird. Yes, I know. James Wiseman, he was very talented coming out of Memphis. And for whatever reason, he hasn't panned out in the NBA. It happens to players all the time. Okay, there are multiple guys who get drafted number 2 overall, and they don't work out for whatever reason. Jabari Parker, Darko, however you say his last name, who got drafted by the Pistons over Carmelo Anthony. Okay, there are plenty of guys who get drafted number 2 overall and don't work out. And of all the number 2 overall picks that haven't worked out, James Wiseman makes the most sense. It makes the most sense that James Wiseman, of all the number 2 overall picks that have ever busted, it makes sense why he's a bust. He barely played in college. Okay, in 2020 was the COVID year. College season got shortened. Players couldn't go in for pre-draft workouts. So the Warriors, I thinking about it now, I'm like, geez, why did the Warriors draft this guy? The Warriors drafted James Wiseman after watching him play 3 games at Memphis against 3 not very good teams. And they didn't get to see him live in person for a pre-draft workout. Okay, they barely got to see the guy play against good talent. But they sat back and they're like, you know what? He's 7 feet tall. He's athletic. Maybe he'll be able to shoot at some point. Why not? Let's take him. Okay, it's better than taking LaMelo Ball. Okay, and I it's just I'm not trying to bash on the Warriors here because they're very well run. They've obviously drafted really well in the past. Steph, Clay, Draymond, those guys. They've drafted well in the past. So I'm not trying to bang on them too much, but all I'm saying is that like it makes sense that James Wiseman hasn't panned out because the Warriors drafted him based on a very limited amount of knowledge and a very limited amount of getting to see him actually play against players past the high school level. And that's why he's on his third team heading into his fifth season in the NBA. Like, is it cool that the Pacers got him? Sure. I guess. I guess we'll take a guy who played 17 minutes a night for the worst team in the league. I guess that's cool. But don't expect him to come in and contribute, especially since Miles Turner is an Iron Man. He played 77 games last year. Like, this is a guy who like consistently plays in games. He's got a year where he played 81 games. He's got another year where he played 74 games. Like, he's consistently available, or at least he has been throughout his career. Things change obviously, but like, don't expect him to come in and like contribute in the playoffs. Okay, this is a replacement for Jalen Smith. And when we got to the playoffs, when the Pacers got to the playoffs and they needed backup center minutes, they didn't go to Jalen Smith. They went to Isaiah Jackson. Okay, because he runs the floor and he screens and he does all those things well, and he protects the rim, and he checks all of the you have to do these things. Like, he checks all the boxes of like the bare minimum of what you want from a center in the league: athletic, long, finishes around the rim, and block shots. I don't know if James Wiseman checks all those boxes. I know we'd like to think that he does, but at the end of the day, if he did, he wouldn't be on his third team in 5 years. He wouldn't be. So it's an interesting thing. I don't know. I get on Twitter and I see all these Pacers fans over the moon excited about a guy who hasn't lived up to expectations anywhere that he's been, who hasn't been good anywhere that he's been. Like, he's in the NBA at this point, I would argue, strictly off of reputation. It's like, oh, like, this guy was a number 2 overall pick. He's only 23 or 24, somewhere in there. It's like, yeah, maybe he'll figure something out at some point. It's like, I don't know. Like, you think 4 years would be enough time to figure out whether or not a guy is good or not. And I don't think that he is. So players move on, get traded, leave in free agency and all those things. And Klay Thompson has opted to leave the Warriors. And it's interesting because this is the official ending of a dynasty. And usually they're a lot uglier than what the ending of this dynasty is going to be. I'm going to talk about that when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
More winners, more often. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy's Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Klay Thompson is leaving the Golden State Warriors. This is news that is not, it's not new. It's old news, which is fine. We can talk about old news sometimes because I've been thinking a lot about this, not just because I'm a Mavericks fan, but also just from a massive basketball standpoint. And really from just this really pulled back view of sports. And I've been thinking just about dynasties and how dynasties work and how they end and how they begin. Like they're just like I like dynasties. I know people don't, but I think dynasties make sports more fun to watch. I think people tune in more. I like it was fun when everyone was rooting against the Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green Warriors. It was fun when everyone was rooting against Tom Brady because they were so sick of him. It makes sports more fun. And we often remember like the peak of dynasties and when they're winning titles and all those things. But I want to talk about the ending of dynasties because the ending of dynasties in sports is never pretty. The breakup of the Golden State Warriors dynasty does not feel that way, especially when I compare it to other recent ones. Like the ending of the New England Patriots dynasty was not pretty. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady grew tired of each other. There was a legitimate disdain after those guys left. I think there still is. I don't think they like each other at all. Robert Kraft threw Bill Belichick under the bus in this documentary that they released on Apple TV. And it didn't end well at all. Nobody liked each other at the end of it. The Cowboys dynasty in the mid-90s, that didn't end well either. Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson, college football teammates, won a national championship together at the University of Arkansas in 1969. Legitimate friends. Jerry Jones calls him, hires him to be the Dallas Cowboys' new head coach. Jimmy Johnson revolutionizes the way the teams built their rosters. Right? He did it through the draft and emphasized speed over size and all those things. And they go on and they win all these Super Bowls together, and it's great and it's fun. It's like, oh, Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson, the best of friends. And then Jerry Jones wanted a little bit too much power. Jimmy Johnson didn't like it, so he left. And they didn't like each other for a long time because of it. The breakup of dynasties, it's never pretty. Shaquille O'Neal leaving the Lakers wasn't pretty. He and Kobe didn't get along. Okay, like they had disdain for each other for a long time as well. They were always competitive from the moment that they both left. The Bulls in the 90s, that dynasty didn't end very well either. Scottie Pippen sat out most of the 97-98 season because he opted to not have surgery in the offseason so that he could purposefully miss games during the year. He wanted to stick it to Jerry Krause. That did not sit well with anyone. None of the players liked Jerry Krause. Okay, things were so bad that they entered that season and they literally titled it themselves The Last Dance because they all knew this was the last season that they were all going to be together. Okay, my point, dynasties do not have pretty endings. Even the ones where players stick around and they get old, right? Because there comes a moment where they all realize that they just don't have what it takes anymore. Some ways, like that's even more painful, right? Because you sit back and you watch these guys realize, like it's like, oh, like I am mortal. There are people that are better than us now. Okay. Either way, though, the ending of any dynasty has to happen at some point. Okay. Sometimes it's through losing. Sometimes it's through another player leaving or like one of those core guys, leaving. The Warriors dynasty ended through losing. Okay. Like Klay Thompson leaving is not the end of the Warriors dynasty. The Warriors dynasty ended 2 years ago. They haven't made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons now. So with Klay Thompson leaving, I don't blame him. He still has some good basketball in front of him. If I was him, I'd rather go try and win somewhere else than stay and lose in Golden State. Honestly, I'm surprised that Draymond Green didn't leave last summer. Like, it's apparent that the Warriors are washed. They're old. and they just don't have what it takes anymore. So Klay Thompson is leaving to go to try and win a fifth title with the Dallas Mavericks. Feels eerily similar to Ray Allen leaving the Celtics for the Miami Heat, right? Like Celtics had been at the top of the Eastern Conference for years. LeBron James and these dudes show up, and Ray Allen's like, I'll see ya. I'm going to go try and win a title with those guys. So Ray Allen leaves, and that was kind of the end of those Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo, and Ray Allen Celtics. And Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett resented Ray Allen for a while after that. And look, I'm not a fan of these, NBA player podcasts, really any player podcast, NBA, NFL, MLB, whatever. Just not a fan. But Draymond Green, he did a podcast yesterday and he spoke on Klay Thompson leaving. And we all know Draymond Green is a very emotional person who will say what is on his mind, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly, doesn't matter. Draymond Green is going to say what's on his mind. And I was half expecting for him to come on and throw some slight shots at Klay Thompson, but he didn't do that. And this Golden State Warriors dynasty coming to an end just feels different than every other one. Based on what Draymond Green said on his podcast yesterday, I don't think that there's this feeling of resentment towards Klay Thompson for leaving.
But it's been a hell of a 12 years. And I can't thank Klay enough, Steph enough. But this is about Klay, man. The healthy competition between him and Steph on who's the best shooter was one of the highlights of my career. Just to watch that on the daily, to watch them go at it after practice, during practice, it was beautiful. It's incredible to watch. So I'm thankful. Someday I'll have more thoughts on this, but it's been a hell of a 12 years. And one day I'll be able to put all these thoughts into place and process them. I can't really right now. But salute to my dog, Killer Klay Thompson. It's been a hell of a ride, champ.
That was Draymond Green talking about Klay Thompson leaving. And just, this guy who is, how do I put it nicely, who is, unafraid of saying whatever is on his mind. He was very kind there, which is kind of out of the ordinary for a guy like Draymond Green. And, it seems like Klay Thompson's leaving on decent terms. Reports came out that Klay Thompson told Stephen Curry not to demand the front office to pay him, which is awesome. A lot of respect for Klay for doing that, because plenty of guys would have been like, I want to stay here. I want to get paid. And they'd go, they do whatever means necessary to make that happen. And, Klay Thompson, I think, wanted to stay in Golden State. I think he wanted for them to pay him, but they didn't want to. So he left. Fair enough. If you're not wanted, why stay? And that seems like a plenty good reason to leave. Players understand that guys want to get paid. I think feelings would be different if the Warriors offered him a max and Klay left anyway. But they didn't. And players understand that other guys are going to go where they can get paid, especially after they've already won 4 titles. Klay Thompson, his legacy isn't really lacking anything. So Steph Curry, Draymond Green seem to understand why Klay Thompson's leaving. And it's just a really unique situation that a dynasty is coming to an end and there is no drama whatsoever. Now, where there is drama, where there's always drama, is the Los Angeles Lakers, especially since Bronny James and LeBron James are both there now. And it's incredible. Like father, like son. They're both getting paid. LeBron James signed a 2-year, $104 million deal. Bronny James, his contract fully guaranteed, even though he's never done anything in the NBA. This stuff is crazy. And my biggest takeaway is I just wish that athletes were honest. I listened to Bronny James and LeBron James over the past 3 days, and I'm like, I just want these guys to be honest. That's all I want. And I understand that honesty from these athletes would ruin some of the discussion we have around players, but it'd be so much more enjoyable. It'd be nice to know that they aren't delusional. And we can add Bronny James to the list of delusional athletes. He had his introductory press conference yesterday, and he said something that I just can't believe. Like, seriously, I can't believe that he said this. He was asked a question about, playing with his dad, and I've got the question in the audio, so I'm just gonna play it. But Bronny James, man, welcome to the league.
You played 1 year at USC and joined the team, after the season already began. What about the timing to come into this year's draft compelled you to make that decision? And then how much of a consideration was, well, my father's still an active player?
For me, I always try to put that narrative of me trying to get my name out for myself. But just coming in and trying to get better, Rob has told me that there's a great development system here. So I just want to come in and get my work in and get better every day. But I never really had a thought of, me going to play with my dad, but that's always, there to, take part of. But that wasn't the main focus of mine to do.
Well, what a lie. Just don't lie, man. Bronny James, don't lie. Don't get off on the wrong foot. Come on, man. That was Bronny James talking about why he left USC, why he decided to come out after 1 year, and whether or not him having an opportunity to play with his dad had any role in his decision-making whatsoever. Bronny James, don't lie, man. Come on now. In that response, he claims he never even had a thought about playing with his dad. It's total crap. That's bull. It's a bunch of baloney. It's either that or Bronny James is dumb, which I don't believe. I think Bronny James is a smart kid. Okay? Bronny James apparently never had a thought about playing with his dad. But he only worked out for 2 teams in the pre-draft process. One of those teams was the Lakers, the team his dad plays for. It's like, yeah, let me go work out for the team that my dad plays for. But no, I'm not going to think at all. Like, not even a little bit about the possibility of me playing with him. It's just such a lie. Like, don't lie. Jeez. In addition to only working out for 2 teams, one of those teams being the Lakers, his agent, oh my gosh, his agent threatened the league by saying that if anyone other than the Lakers, the team that Bronny James' dad plays for, if anyone other than the Lakers drafts Bronny James, he will go play in Australia. He just won't play next year. Like, just be honest, Bronny. Just be honest. Okay, like, we aren't dumb. We're not. Like everyone sees what's happened. It's only been the lead story on ESPN and Fox Sports since the draft, before the draft. Bronny, don't lie to us. Okay, I know that your dad lies to us all the time. I'm getting to that here in a second, but we live in a world that knows that the Lakers drafted Bronny James because he's the son of LeBron James. Why can't he just say that? Seriously, like why can't he just sit at the podium, right? And it's like, well, Jonathan, he's 19. He doesn't know what to say. His dad's LeBron James. I promise you, his dad coached him on what to say before he sat down in that seat. Why couldn't he have just looked at the reporter who asked him the question and just said, hey, look, I know there's a lot of controversy about why I was drafted here. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to put in the work and to show everybody that I wasn't only drafted because I'm LeBron James's kid. I'm excited to show people that I was drafted because I'm a good basketball player. That is what he should have said. Not all this, oh no, I didn't even think about playing with my dad. I didn't even know that was a possibility. Right? This is a total shock to me, even though I only worked out for the Lakers and the Suns, and my agent told the entire NBA that if anyone other than the Lakers drafted me, I would go play in Australia. Just be honest. Just be honest. Okay, like I get it. Your dad's LeBron James, and he's not exactly the most honest person in the world. And if you're like, Jonathan, what are you talking about? Well, let's just go back 3 days when LeBron James said that he would take a pay cut so that the Lakers could bring in more talent. And then today, he signed a 2-year, $104 million max extension, meaning he didn't take any kind of pay cut at all whatsoever. Okay, he was like, hey, guys, I'm going to take a pay cut so we can have a better roster. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not. Give me $104 million over these next 2 years. Just be honest. Okay, like LeBron, nobody was going to be like, geez, how dare LeBron make the most amount of money possible? Pfft, what a loser. No. The only reason why we're doing it now is because you lied. Seriously. Okay? Like just tell the world, like, hey, I want to make every penny possible while I'm in the league. Makes sense. That's what everybody does. That's what everybody should do because you have a short window to make a lot of money. So every professional athlete should look to make as much money as possible. I get it. But don't lie to us and say that you're gonna take a pay cut and then sign a max extension. Don't do that. Not even that. He signed a max extension that put the Lakers over the second apron. So now they're super limited. They can't do anything. He couldn't even take a pay cut to keep them out of the second apron. Like, come on. Don't lie to us, guys. Okay, like we are not stupid. Okay, the people who watch this stuff and pay attention, I promise you, we are not dumb by any stretch of the imagination. All right, so Bronny James lying to us right off the rip. LeBron James doing what he's done for the past 20 plus years. Lie. Also, $104 million, $52 million a year. That is a lot of money for a 39-year-old. It's a lot of money for a 39-year-old. And I know that, he's got a lot invested in the Lakers and they have a lot invested in him and they've done everything that he has told them to do. I also know that LeBron James was named to an All-NBA team last year, which in theory means that he's still one of the 15 best players in the world. But I have to be honest. I am not giving a 39-year-old $52 million a year in a sport. I'm not doing it. Okay, father time always wins. And as every year passes and every day passes, eventually that body is going to break down. I don't care how good a shape he's in because he's obviously in immaculate shape. But come on now. That's a lot of money. And it's not a wise investment. It's not. To give a 39-year-old $104 million over 2 years and to also give his son, who played 1 year at USC and didn't exactly light up the college basketball world, I think it's also dumb to give him a fully guaranteed contract. I've got thoughts on baseball when we come back in 5 minutes. I don't talk about baseball a ton, but I've started watching more and more over these past couple days as basketball has ended and everything. And people try to fix baseball every year by like changing rules. That is not how you fix baseball. I have the solution when we come back here in about 4.5 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for
It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Hope you guys are having a good one. Hope you're excited for tomorrow's day off. Tomorrow, the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. As we are living in the best country in the world. No doubt about it. Tomorrow, no show for me. No show for Dan. I will be back on Friday. Dan will not. Just a little heads up on that. Thanks for tuning in. Whether that's on Twitter, follow us at Ticket1430. Feel free to come over, watch on YouTube, subscribe to Indy Sports Ticket. You can join the chat, join the conversation about, whatever they're talking about in there. Sometimes it's about what I'm saying. Other times it's not, which is cool. Fine, whatever. I'm just glad you guys are here. And so with that being said, I don't watch a ton of baseball. At least, let me back up. I don't watch as much baseball as I used to. Okay, like when I was in high school, college, when I was playing, always on. I was watching everything that I could. I was finding ways to go to minor league games. I loved it. I still do. Like, baseball just has a incredible presence in my heart because I played it for so long and spent so many hours just, committed to this thing that I have a great passion for. But with that being said, like with what I do now, like I know people, like they're not watching Game 95, so I don't watch Game 95. Okay? Like I watch the playoffs, and that's pretty much it. But with, the NBA season ending, football not really happening right now, I've found myself watching more and more baseball. And I've sat back and I've watched Major League Baseball, and every year I hear, podcasts and radio shows, it undoubtedly happens every single year. They do some sort of segment on how to fix baseball. Like, if we add a pitch clock, that will get more people to watch. If we make games shorter, that'll get that's what's going to get people to watch. If we, only play 7 innings, that'll get more people to watch. If we shorten the season, that'll get more people to watch. Like there's all these different ideas and they tend to be the same. But here's the thing. That's not how you fix baseball. People enjoy basketball and football because it is more art than it is science. It's like, Jonathan, what do you mean? So like in the NBA, there's a science to how teams play basketball. We want to shoot a lot of threes, right? Because 3 is worth more than 2. So we're going to, do whatever we can to ensure that our team takes and makes a lot of threes. That makes sense. That is the science behind basketball. We want a 3 or we want a layup. But at the same time, because of just the way that basketball is played, you watch a guy like Kyrie Irving and you fall in love with the artistry. You fall in love with the handle and the shot creation. When you watch Steph Curry, you fall in love with the artistry of shooting. You're like, geez, man, like he's pulling up from 32 feet after going between his legs 37 times and then behind the back and then stepping back and hitting a shot. You fall in love with the artistry of Anthony Edwards soaring through the air and dunking on somebody. Like when you watch Michael Jordan, like you just go back and pull up the highlights on YouTube. I promise. No one's ever had a bad time watching Michael Jordan highlights on YouTube. It's impossible to have a bad time. Like when I have a kid, if it's crying, Michael Jordan highlights. That's what I'm going to show him. The crying will cease immediately because it was beautiful to watch the jump shot and the form. It was amazing to see him fly through the air, a double clutch, and he's got the crazy layup against the Lakers, up with, the left hand, pull it down, switch hands in the air and finish on the other side of the bucket. Like there's artistry and there's beauty when you watch basketball. I think we see the same thing when we watch the NFL, right? The science is the play design. The science is the blitz package. The science is, like we want to throw the ball this many times or run it this many times. That way we're balanced. And like there's science in football, but there's also artistry. And that is the part that people like. Like people enjoy watching Patrick Mahomes because he escapes the pocket and he breaks a tackle and then he throws it sidearm to Travis Kelce 12 yards down the field for a first down. That is the part of it that we fall in love with. We fall in love with the artistry of these quarterbacks, their ability to create plays. Okay, like we fall in love with guys like Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu on the defensive end because they were able to make plays on the back end. Okay? Like, we fall in love with the artistry of sports. And then you turn on a baseball game. Can somebody tell me where the art is in baseball? Because there isn't any anymore. When I watch a baseball game, the entire thing, it is all science. There is no art, there is no originality, there is no uniqueness when you tune in and watch a baseball game. Okay? Like, I don't know how kids play wiffle ball anymore. Like for me, growing up, you would imitate everybody's stance, and everybody's stance was so different. You know, you'd stand and you do the Ken Griffey Jr. thing, right, with a little wiggle. You would do the Alfonso Storiano wide, kind of closed off, bat waggle, rhythm kind of thing, right? Like you would imitate all these different players because there was a uniqueness to all of them. And now I turn on a baseball game, and like 90% of these guys have the exact same stance. They stand pretty upright, legs like a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and then they kind of work from there. Like they all look similar. Like there is no uniqueness to it. There's no artistry. When I watch pitchers pitch, every windup looks the exact same. It does. Like there isn't enough uniqueness. There isn't enough artistry in the game. Because I do think that is the thing that pulls people in to watch sports. Like even in the WNBA, before Caitlin Clark showed up, like where was the art? It was, hey, let's watch so-and-so miss 7 straight layups and grab the offensive rebound. It's not art. That's boring. Like artistry, like that is the thing that grabs people and gets them to watch games. Okay? And even for baseball, even the broadcast is all science. Okay? Like when I watch a broadcast, they talk about launch angle. They talk about spin rate. They talk about WAR. They talk about OPS plus and other terms that casual viewers don't care or understand about. There is not enough art within the sport of baseball, and that is the thing that it's missing. Okay? It wasn't missing, like the game didn't need to be sped up. It didn't. Like there just needs to be more art because that is the thing that gets people to watch sports, the uniqueness of it. That's why people watch Caitlin Clark. She's very unique in her sports, in her area. That's why people watch Steph Curry. He's very unique in the NBA world. That's why people watch Patrick Mahomes. He is unique. Okay? Artistry. Baseball needs more art and less science. Speaking of Caitlin Clark, her, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell have all been selected to this year's WNBA All-Star team. Okay, this is obviously Caitlin Clark's first selection, but it's Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell's second selection to the All-Star team. It's not surprising at all that all three of them made the All-Star team. Not at all. Okay, people have tuned in and showed up to watch the Indiana Fever play all year long. Okay, this is the Caitlin Clark effect in full swing. People are tuning in to watch Caitlin Clark, and because of that, they are getting to see Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. And that is leading to them having a much larger fan base. Okay, like I'm on the record of talking about how much I enjoy watching Kelsey Mitchell play basketball. I love the pace that she plays with. I love how aggressive she is. I love how well she shoots the ball. Like she's awesome. I love watching her play. And I'm only getting to see her because I originally cared about Caitlin Clark. And I think a lot of people are kind of running into that. And I think that's evident through the All-Star voting. When it comes to Caitlin Clark, it is not at all a surprise that Caitlin Clark was selected to the All-Star team. She could have been the worst player in the WNBA this year, and she would have been selected. Okay? It is also not at all surprising that she has the most votes of anyone because she is the biggest star in the WNBA. Okay, she led the way in All-Star voting with a little over 700,000 votes. Okay, that is over 600,000 more votes than Asia Wilson had last year as the leading All-Star voter getter in the WNBA. She only got 95,000 votes. And this isn't just a Caitlin Clark thing, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. This is something that has been said repeatedly in this Caitlin Clark conversation we've had over these past several months. If you add up the top 5 All-Star vote receivers from last year, it is less than the 700,000 votes that Caitlin Clark alone got this year. In fact, the top 5 vote getters this year received over 2 million more votes total than the top 5 All-Star vote receivers from last year. More proof. That's what this is. This is more proof that Caitlin Clark is continuing to lift the league up and not just herself. Okay? The eyes on her are spreading to other people. The viewing numbers that came out last month showed that as well. Now, we're seeing people actually engage with the league in a way that we have never seen before. Okay? Like, it is one thing to watch a game. It's one thing for, dinner to be on the table and for you to turn the game on and listen to it. Like, that's one thing, because I do believe that people consume a lot of sports passively now. It's like, yes, this is on, but I'm also going to do this work. It's like, yes, this is on, but I'm also going to play cards with my friend. Yes, this is on, but I'm also going to do this. So it's one thing to do that. It's one thing to turn the game on and let it be part of your environment. It is another thing entirely to take time out of your day to go and vote for something. Okay? People don't vote for things that they don't care about. Okay? That's why the turnout for local elections are very, very less than the total turnout for national elections. Okay? Like, people just care more about voting for the president than they do the mayor or the representative from their district. Okay? It's just the way that it is. When people are invested in something, they go and they vote for it. Okay? And that vote means that whatever you're voting on means something to you. And with the Fever being a good team, people are going to continue to watch, and the popularity of the WNBA is going to continue to grow. It is, without a doubt. Okay? And if people continue to watch, then they'll continue to talk about it amongst their friends. And if they continue to talk about it amongst their friends, then it will be continued to be talked about on talk shows like The Real Jonathan Smith Show, The Dan Dockett Show, ESPN, Fox Sports, whatever your viewing platform is. Okay, like, that matters. Like, if you're being talked about, that means that you're interesting. Okay, that's what it means. That's what it signifies. People want to watch interesting things. Okay, and having people discuss the product leads to more people watching it. 90% of the TV shows that I watch and the movies that I go watch, 90% of them are because people tell me about them. Like, I'm hanging out with a buddy. He's like, hey, man, I started watching The Man in the High Castle. Came out in 2016 on Amazon Prime. I think you would love it. Okay, why? Tell me. It's about World War II and, like, alternate reality. Like, what if Germany won? Like, it's kind of set in that setting. And it's like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'm going to go watch that. Okay, like, that is how our viewing habits are partially shaped. And sports talk has the exact same effect. When people hear about something repetitively, eventually they become curious. That, or they shut it off entirely. But most people, I would like to think, become curious. And then they go watch whatever is being talked about for, an X amount of time. And when it comes to Caitlin Clark, she is so engaging. Her artistry it pulls people in. It just does. And, like, that's all she needs. She just needs you to sit down and watch her once, and she hooks a lot of people because she's a great basketball player who plays a very entertaining style. And as people continue to watch Caitlin Clark, they're going to run into other good players in the WNBA. That's what happened to me last night. And as people run into these other players that are good, the growth of the league and the growth of these other players' quote-unquote brands are going to grow as well. Like, last night, I sat down at 9:30 for some reason. No, the reason is Caitlin Clark. That's why I sat down at 9:30 to watch a WNBA game. I sat down last night to watch and be entertained. By the great Caitlin Clark. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and I also wind up being entertained by Kelsey Plum, who scored 34 points and hit 6 of 11 threes. I was also entertained by Asia Wilson, who scored 28 points and had, 9 rebounds and 5 blocks. Like, that is the way that this stuff works. Okay? It is. Like, people show up to watch one thing, and then you fall in love with something else. Happens all the time in sports and just in our world in general. And like that is the Caitlin Clark effect. We're seeing it in the All-Star votes. It happened to me last night. Sat down to watch Clark and ended up really enjoying watching Aja Wilson and Kelsey Plum, two outstanding players that play for the Las Vegas Aces. And they showed last night why they're likely going to three-peat, because they're really, really good on both ends. In the fourth quarter, they were up by 6, and they just went to a level that the Fever couldn't match. They just they couldn't. Like the Aces really locked in defensively. The ball moved a little bit better on offense, and they outscored the Fever 23-10 in the fourth quarter as they ended up winning by 19. Like those first 3 quarters, the Fever hung tough. They sped up the pace. Caitlin Clark just throwing dimes all over the floor. Her passing still continues to amaze me. It is still her best attribute. Still, it's not close. Like the shooting is too inconsistent, but the passing, is always going to be there, and it's always going to have an impact on whether or not the Indiana Fever win. So she did that really well for the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter happened, and the offense came to a screeching halt, and the defense just wasn't good enough to keep them in it. Just wasn't. When you give up 88 points, it's hard to win, even when you're as offensively inclined as the Indiana Fever are. So they have to defend better. They got to be more consistent through the entire games. But this is a team that is consistently getting better. We're seeing growth from this team night in and night out. Now, growth is something that we want to see from the Pacers. They're bringing back Obi Toppin. Hopefully he gets better. But they're also bringing in James Wiseman, and I don't like it. I don't think he's very good. I think that's the nicest way for me to say it. I'm going to talk about the Pacers bringing in James Wiseman when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
When someone hears the words, "You have cancer," it's one of the darkest moments in their life. Light the Night brings light to the darkness of cancer by uniting survivors, patients, and supporters in the cause to end cancer. Friends, families, and coworkers form a community of hope, raising funds in support of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Together, we walk with lanterns held high to light the path to cures. Last year alone, the FDA approved 18 new drug therapies and treatments to treat blood cancers. The impact of LLS-supported research goes beyond blood cancer. The discoveries made in blood cancer research have led to breakthrough treatments for many cancers and other serious diseases. When we walk, cancer runs. Join the movement to end cancer today. Visit us at lightthenight.org.
It's the Dan Dockage Show.
Well, you didn't want to pay the players.
I did want to play. I did want to play the player. You said I did. I did.
For the longest time, you would be like, "Oh, well, didn't they go to Italy every 4 years? That's basically paying."
Shut up.
That's exactly what you'd say. You're like, "Oh, they went to Greece."
I got the tapes.
Dan Dockage, weekdays from noon to 3. This is Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 99.5 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app. Often imitated, never duplicated. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Hope you guys are having a good one. Thanks for tuning in, whether that's on the radio, 1430 AM. Maybe you're watching on Twitter at Ticket1430 if you want to follow us there and continue to watch the rest of the shows. You can also follow me there as well at __ Jonathan Smith. Or maybe you're watching in the most interactive way possible. You're watching on YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket. Head over there, subscribe, join the chat. Let me know your thoughts on all the things I'm saying. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably not. But hey, that is a possibility. I won't rule it out. And I know I'm not wrong about this. James Wiseman, not that big of a deal at all. Like, not even a little bit. Okay. By people, I mean Pacer fans. Pacer fans are excited about the addition of James Wiseman. Do not fall for the hype. Don't do it. I did a whole Top 10 Tuesday on this yesterday. Did an entire thing on it. Because this is the time of year where people are trying to generate hype for players in the NBA and in the NFL. Okay? Like, that's the time of year that we're in. And you're going to hear about how much talent James Wiseman has. And you're going to hear about how he has so much potential and he has so much upside. Oh, he just needs to be in the right situation. Okay. He played for the Golden State Warriors. I don't think there's a better situation than that, you know? I mean, there's not. Playing alongside Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson pre, the downfall of that dynasty. Like, there wasn't a better place to play. There wasn't. You're going to hear about how he was, the former number 2 overall pick, right? And how he has the measurables. Oh my gosh, he's big and he's long and he's athletic. Oh my word. He's got so much potential. You're going to hear people go on and on and on about all that stuff, about James Wiseman and how much potential he has. Those are the same people who will tell you that Jarris Walker is a bust, even though you say all the exact same things about him. So, just an interesting little tidbit for you there. Okay, so much potential. Okay. I am a huge believer in the idea that teams tell you how good or bad someone is. They do. Okay, I talked about this during the Power Hour on Dan's show, which is on from noon to 3. I talked about it during the Power Hour on Monday. Someone called in and tried to say that Sam Ehlinger was good. But here's the thing. If Sam Ehlinger was good, then the Colts would not have brought in Joe Flacco to be the backup. They would have said, you know what, Sam Ehlinger, you're pretty good. You can be our backup. And then we'll draft some rookie to be our third string guy or something like that. Okay? Like, that's how teams operate. If the Warriors thought that Klay Thompson was still one of the best players in the league, then they would have paid him and they would have brought him back. If the Vikings thought that Kirk Cousins was good enough to get them to a Super Bowl, then they never would have replaced him with J.J. McCarthy. They wouldn't have. Teams will tell you how good or bad a player is. Look at James Wiseman's NBA career. It is littered with situations and where teams have made it clear that they don't think he's very good. The Warriors, who needed a center when they drafted James Wiseman in 2020, the Warriors barely played James Wiseman. Okay, in fact, he played in the G League, which is apparently the worst thing ever. Okay, as the number 2 overall pick, they're like, hey, man, you go play in the G League. You aren't quite ready for this shit, which is fine. There are plenty of rookies who spend time in the G League. But here's the thing. If the Warriors thought that James Wiseman was going to contribute to playoff wins at any point, okay, if they thought that James Wiseman was good enough to be a part of a young core with Kuminga and Moses Moody, then they would have kept him. They would not have traded him. Okay, and here's the thing. When he went and he played for the Pistons, he barely played. He barely played. He didn't see the floor very often. Okay? He played 63 games this year, which is the most he's appeared in at any point in his career. He only started 6 of them. He only averaged 17 minutes a night for the worst team in the NBA, a team that couldn't even win 15 games this year. He was the backup center on that team. Don't buy into the hype. Teams will tell you whether or not a player is good or bad based off of whether or not they decide to bring them back for, another contract, versus whether or not they decide to play them. Like, chances are, when the IU season rolls around and Anthony Leal isn't playing, it's because he's not good enough to play at IU. That's probably what we're going to find out. Okay, the fact that Mike Woodson went out and he recruited and got a bunch of guys to play Anthony Leal's position, that tells you that Anthony Leal, probably not good enough to consistently play at a Big Ten level. Okay, like coaches, GMs, they tell you who's good and who isn't. So don't buy into the hype with James Wiseman. The Pistons and the Warriors have told you he's not that good. Okay, he's not. Like, the Pistons are in the process of rebuilding right now. They are. If James Wiseman had shown any flashes whatsoever of being capable of playing and being a key piece to a young core, because that's what the Pistons are trying to put together right now. They want Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and whoever else to be a part of their future. Like, that's currently what they are looking for. And if they thought that James Wiseman was good enough to make that happen, was good enough to be part of that young core, they would have kept him. Okay, he wasn't that expensive. Okay, I promise you, the Pistons could have afforded to keep him around if they wanted. Right? Like I said, he wasn't expensive. Instead, the Pistons opted to let him reach free agency. They didn't even try to trade him. They weren't even like, can we get a second-round pick for this guy? I don't know about that. I don't know if we can get a second-round pick. So okay, we'll just let him go in free agency and we'll let him leave for nothing, which is something that no team wants to do. Okay, the Pacers are going to be the 3rd team that James Wiseman has played for since he's entered the league. He's going into his 5th year of his career. He's going to play for 3 teams in 5 years. I don't think that you need to know much more about the guy. Okay, 3 teams in 5 years, that's journeyman stuff. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick level movement right there. Maybe not quite. I don't know. Ryan Fitzpatrick, played for like half of the NFL teams in, like a 16-year career. Pretty insane. But still, that's the thing with James Wiseman. As of right now, he looks like a journeyman. And yes, I know, I understand. He was great coming out of Memphis. Jonathan, man, you should have seen him. He was so good at Memphis. I saw him play 3 games, and he was awesome. That's all he played. He played 3 games at Memphis. And we wonder why he hasn't panned out in the NBA. Look, this happens to guys all the time. It does. There are plenty of guys who get drafted high, 1, 2, 3 overall, and they don't pan out for whatever reason. Maybe they get hurt. Maybe they just aren't good enough. Maybe that's what's happening with James Wiseman. Maybe he's just not good enough. But because he's 7 feet tall, because he's kind of athletic, he's going to get another shot, which is cool. Like, great for him. Okay, but like this happens to players all the time. They get drafted high and they end up being a bust. And of all the busts in the history of the NBA, like this one makes the most sense. It makes sense that James Wiseman has not lived up to the expectations that were set before him, before the NBA draft, before he was taken second overall. Okay, he barely played in college. 3 games. That's it. Right? He was also drafted in the year of 2020, which was, as we all know, the COVID year. Not the best time of my life. Not at all. And because of COVID, the college season was shortened, which didn't matter for James Wiseman because he couldn't play anyway. It was ruled ineligible for like illegal recruiting from Penny Hardaway, something like that. Something weird about Penny Hardaway being his AAU coach and, all that stuff. But he only plays 3 games at Memphis. And because of COVID, they couldn't do pre-draft workouts, right? So like you could go and watch video and do all those things, which made things not easy to draft and know who to take and know who was good and who wasn't. And so the Warriors, they're sitting there. They're like, we need a center. James Wiseman was like one of the highest rated guys in his high school class. It's like, I know we only saw him play 3 games at Memphis. I know we didn't get to bring him in for a pre-draft workout, but I guess I guess we'll take him second overall, even though the rumor was that they really liked Tyrese Halliburton. That was apparently the guy that they really liked, and obviously they decided to pass on him. But looking back, like you could claim that this was a dumb pick made by the Warriors. But I don't know. Like at the time, the pick made sense. Sometimes guys just don't pan out. And that's why he's on his 3rd team heading into his 5th year in the NBA. Okay? Do not buy into the James Wiseman hype. You're going to hear all the buzzwords about how much upside he has, about how much potential he has, okay, about how he has the measurables. He has all the tools, good hands, That's what you're going to hear leading into the season. But then he's going to play like 10 minutes a night. He's going to score like 3 buckets, and that's kind of be it. So, like, Miles Turner is still going to get all the minutes at center, which I know everybody's super stoked about. So, we'll see. I got to be like, look, clearly I'm not enthusiastic about this James Wiseman thing. We'll see how things go. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just telling you that the history of James Wiseman's career is showing us, because you can go look at it too, showing us that he's not very good. He's a backup at best, which is, fine, I guess. When we come back in 4 minutes, is Klay Thompson a backup? I don't know. He might be. He's headed to the Mavericks. He's ending this Golden State Warriors dynasty. And the ending of dynasties usually aren't pretty, but this one is a little bit unique. I'll explain why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. Maybe that's on the radio, 1430 AM. Maybe you're watching on Twitter at Ticket1430. Or you can head over to YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket, subscribe, join the live stream, join the chat. I need the comments. I want to know what you guys think about the things that I'm saying. Am I making sense? Do I know what I'm talking about? The answer to that is yes, but you know what I mean. And so head over, Indy's Sports Ticket, hop in there. Let me know your thoughts on everything going on. The Dan Dockett Show coming up next from noon to 3. If you want to listen to that, download the Indy Sports Ticket app. And, you can stream the show live on there. Klay Thompson is headed to the Dallas Mavericks, officially ending the Golden State Warriors dynasty. And the ending of anything in sports, especially dynasties, it's never pretty. It never is. You know, the breakup of the Golden State Warriors dynasty, though, doesn't really feel that way. Everyone feels like they're kind of okay with it. Feels like everyone kind of saw it coming. You know, the ending of the Patriots dynasty that ending was as ugly as it can get. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady did not like each other in the end. Bill Belichick tried to get rid of Tom Brady. So I don't blame Tom Brady for having a little bit of resentment towards Bill Belichick, but still, they didn't like each other. Robert Kraft threw Bill Belichick completely under the bus in this documentary that was released on Apple TV about the dynasty. It did not end well. Feelings were hurt. Emotions were laid out on the table. These guys, they didn't like each other. The Dallas Cowboys dynasty in the mid-90s. That one did not end very well either. Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson were good friends. They won a national championship together at the University of Arkansas in 1969. Go Hogs. And they were friends. And, Jimmy Johnson goes to Miami. He goes to the U. And he starts winning. He's at the top of college football. And Jerry Jones calls him. He's like, hey, man, you want to come coach the Cowboys? You want to come work with me, your old pal? And Jimmy Johnson's like, yeah, that'd be great. So he shows up, and he completely revolutionizes roster building in the NFL. He passes on these bigger dudes, starts drafting small guys, is trading things away for picks. He's rebuilding through the draft, really revolutionized the way that NFL GMs and the way that they build teams now. And then Jerry Jones oversteps into Jimmy Johnson's territory. Jimmy Johnson doesn't like it. He leaves. And then the Cowboys have been awful ever since. Okay. And they didn't like each other for a very long time. Seriously. Dynasties never end pretty. That's just the NFL. Let's look at the NBA where the divas run a little bit more rampant. Shaquille O'Neal leaves the Lakers because he and Kobe Bryant couldn't get along. Wasn't ideal. They had disdain for each other for a long time. Shaq goes to Miami, wins another title. Hey, I got more than Kobe now. That was my Shaquille O'Neal impression. Was it good? It wasn't. That's okay. And then Kobe Bryant wins 2 more in LA. He wins his 5th. Kobe, how you feeling right now? I got 1 more than Shaq. They didn't like each other for a long time. When we look at the Bulls in the 90s, okay, that one didn't end very well, very pretty either. Scottie Pippen sits out most of that 97 to 98 season. Why? Because he wanted to stick it to the general manager, Jerry Krause. Okay, he could have had surgery in the offseason. He said, no, I'll wait till the season. Okay, only played, 42 of the 82 games. So he goes through the surgery. That doesn't sit well with anybody, especially Michael Jordan. And none of the players like Jerry Krause. That is very well documented. Things were so bad in that organization. Things were so bad in that building that they went into the season knowing that it was their last ride together. Okay, they literally called the season The Last Dance. Okay, if you've seen the documentary, that's in the first episode. There's a moment where they talk about how Phil Jackson writes on the whiteboard, The Last Dance. Okay, my point is that dynasties do not have pretty endings. Okay, even the ones where players stick around, they get old. And then there comes this moment where everyone kind of realizes that they're mortal and they just don't have what it takes anymore. Right? And that's like a sad moment. Like, it's not fun. It's not pretty. Some ways, that's even more painful. Either way, though, like the ending of a dynasty, any dynasty, has to happen at some point. Sometimes it's through losing. Other times it's through a key piece leaving. And people are going to frame Klay Thompson leaving the Golden State Warriors as that being the ending of the Golden State Warriors dynasty. That is not the ending of the Golden State Warriors dynasty. It's not. It's not. The ending of the Golden State Warriors dynasty happened in 2023 and this last year. They haven't made the playoffs for 2 straight years. That is when the dynasty for the Warriors officially ended. And now Klay Thompson is leaving. And I don't blame him. Do you blame him? I'm honestly surprised Draymond Green didn't leave after last summer. Like, it's apparent that the Warriors are washed. They just don't have what it takes anymore, which is fine. It happens to everybody. LeBron James doesn't have what it takes anymore. Okay? So Klay Thompson is leaving to go and try and win a 5th title with the Dallas Mavericks. And it feels eerily similar to Ray Allen leaving the Celtics. Okay? Like, it does. And, when Ray Allen leaves, Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett weren't exactly happy. He kind of ended that Boston Celtics, Garnett, Pierce, Allen, and Rondo kind of thing that they had going. They're at the top of these for a long time. And then, Ray Allen sees LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. They're up and they're coming. And he's like, I'm gonna go play with those guys. And he did. And he helped them win a title. It was, he hit one of the biggest shots in NBA history in the corner. I mean, crazy, right? And that's kind of what this feels like. Klay Thompson notices, hey, guys, like, we aren't getting any better. The Mavericks, they look pretty good. Let me go over there and play. And, I don't care for player podcasts. I think all of them really are stupid. And, they never say anything worth any value. And, Draymond Green has his podcast. It's fine. I don't exactly go out of my way to listen to it. But I did the other day because I knew he was going to talk about Klay Thompson leaving. And Draymond Green is a highly emotional dude. Okay? He will tell you what he thinks, whether it's good, whether it's bad, no matter what. Like, you're going to know what Draymond Green thinks when he discusses something. And I was interested to see what he said. And based on what Draymond Green on his podcast said yesterday, I don't think there are any hard feelings towards Klay Thompson for leaving Golden State.
But it's been a hell of a 12 years. And I can't thank Klay enough, Steph enough. But this is about Klay, man. The healthy competition between him and Steph on, like, who is the best shooter was one of the highlights of my career. Just to watch that on the daily, to watch them go at it after practice, during practice. Like, it was beautiful. Like, it's incredible to watch. So I'm thankful. Someday I'll have more thoughts on this, but it's been a hell of a 12 years. And one day I'll be able to put all these thoughts into place and process them. I can't really right now. But salute to my dog, Killer Klay Thompson. It's been a hell of a ride, champ.
That was Draymond Green talking about Klay Thompson leaving. And yeah, like, it's, kind of surprising. It just is. Like, I thought that with him leaving, like, there'd be a little more frustration from Draymond, but there wasn't. Like, it seems like Klay Thompson is leaving on decent terms, which is out of the ordinary. And I think part of why Draymond and Steph aren't upset is because of something that Klay Thompson did. Reports came out that Thompson went to Steph Curry and he told him not to demand for the front office to pay him. Klay Thompson wanted the Warriors to pay him because they wanted to. And the front office in Golden State decided not to. They decided to let him go. So he left. And that seems like a good reason to leave. Players, they can be irrational. They can be highly emotional. But they understand that guys want to get paid. They understand that guys want to go where they can get paid, especially after they've already won 4 titles and the legacy part of this stuff is kind of cemented. And I feel like Steph and Draymond, like, they understand why Klay Thompson is leaving. And that's why there is no drama. Now, if you want drama, head on down to LA. Head on down there to good old, what's his name? To LeBron James and Bronny James. Because there's plenty of drama there. There's plenty of lying down there. Like, Bronny James and LeBron James just think everyone else is stupid. Okay? Like, I just want athletes to be honest. I don't think I'm asking for much. You know, it's something that every parent asks of from their child. Like, hey, man, just be honest with me. And I understand that if athletes were always honest, that would ruin some of the discussion that we have around them. But it'd be so much more enjoyable. It'd be nice to know that all athletes are not delusional. And by the way, we can add Bronny James to the list of delusional athletes. He had his introductory press conference yesterday. And I can't believe what he said. Oh my gosh. This dude, man. Just listen. Here's the question that Bronny James was asked about why he left USC, and here's his response.
You played 1 year at USC and joined the team, after the season already began. What about the timing to come into this year's draft compelled you to make that decision? And then how much of a consideration was, well, my father's still an active player?
For me, I always try to put that narrative of me trying to get my name out for myself. But just coming in and trying to get better, Rob has told me that there's a great development system here. So I just want to come in and get my work in and get better every day. But I never really had a thought of, me going to play with my dad, but that's always, there to, take part of. But that wasn't a main focus of mine to do.
Oh my gosh. That was Bronny James talking about why he left USC after 1 year. Did you hear what he said? In his response, he claims that he never even had a thought about playing with his dad. That is total crap. That is total bull. It's either that or Bronny James is dumb, which I don't believe. I think Bronny James is a smart kid. His dad's LeBron James, okay? Like, his dad should have told him what to say. But here's the thing. I guess maybe he thinks we're dumb. I don't know. Bronny James apparently never had a thought about playing with his dad. Even though Bronny James only worked out for 2 teams, he refused to work out for anyone else. One of those 2 teams were the Los Angeles Lakers, the team of which his dad plays for. In addition to that, his agent came out and threatened the entire NBA and very simply said that if anyone other than the Los Angeles Lakers, if anyone other than the Lakers drafted Bronny James, they would send him to Australia to play basketball. But yeah, Bronny James didn't have a single thought about playing with his dad. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh. It's insane to me. Like, just be honest. Just be honest. Like, seriously. Bronny James. Like, look at the reporter and be honest. That, like, now you're going to trend on social media and people are going to call you a liar because you just did, just like your dad. Like, we aren't dumb. Like we know what's transpired. Everyone knows that Bronny James was drafted by the Lakers because he is the son of LeBron James. And that's fine. Nepotism is everywhere. It is not that big of a deal. Why can't he just say that? Why can't Bronny James look at the reporter and just tell the truth? Say, hey, look, of course I've thought about playing with my dad. I only worked out for 2 teams. One of those teams was the Lakers. Everyone knows about the thing that my agent said about how if I get drafted by anyone else, I'm going to go play in Australia. Okay? Like, I know that. I've thought about playing with my dad for a while now because it was pretty clear that that was what was going to happen. In addition to that, I would also like to prove that I am not just here because of who my dad is. I would like to show everybody that I am a good basketball player, and that's my number one focus, and I'm excited to be a part of the Lakers where I feel like I'm going to improve as a player. Those are the words that should have come out of Bronny James's mouth, and they didn't. And now we all get to sit back and we get to call him a liar, and they get all this free press, which maybe that's what they wanted. I don't know. I feel like you would want positive, though, like positive coverage on you. Like, just be yourself. Be honest. Don't lie to us. Don't think that we don't know, because we do. Okay? Like, your agent made it clear that you were going to play for the Lakers, and nobody else. It was clear in the pre-draft process, and it was clear when he told everybody that you were going to go to Australia if you didn't get drafted by the Lakers, okay? It's like, just be honest. Don't lie to us. Don't be like your dad, who lied to us 3 days ago. LeBron James has signed a 2-year, $104 million max contract. That is an insane amount of money, my friends. It's an insane amount of money for anybody at any age, especially a 39-year-old who's played in the league for 20-plus years. There's no way I would have given him that money. And 3 days ago, he said he was going to take a pay cut so the Lakers could afford some other guys, and he didn't do that. He lied. Yeah, guys, I'm going to take a pay cut so we can bring in some other veterans. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not. Give me the max, okay? And, they did because it's the Lakers, and they just do whatever LeBron James says. And I know that LeBron was named to an NBA All-Star. He was named to an All-NBA team last year. That means he's still one of the best 15 players in the world. I don't care how good a shape he's in. I'm not putting that much money into a 39-year-old. I'm not. There's no way that that's happening. Here's the other thing. LeBron James makes this claim that he's going to take a pay cut, and then he doesn't. And it wasn't even just so that they could afford another veteran. He should have taken a pay cut just to keep them out of the second apron, because now it's going to be impossible for them to do anything. Seriously, it's going to be harder to make trades. They don't get a mid-level exception. They don't get any of that stuff. Why lie? LeBron James should have been honest. If we sign Klay Thompson, I'll take a pay cut. If not, I'm taking the max. That is what he should have said. Point blank. Leave no room for error. I don't know why these professional athletes feel the need to lie. Okay? Like Bronny James, just tell everybody the truth, because everybody already knows the truth. You got drafted because of who your dad is. LeBron James, just tell the truth. You were never going to take a pay cut. And you shouldn't have. Everybody would understand it. Short window, make as much money as you can while you're in that window. People would people will understand. Because people aren't dumb. But whatever. They felt the need to lie to us. No show tomorrow. Tomorrow is Independence Day. I will be celebrating by eating great food. Can't wait. Gonna be a blast. No Dan Dockett show tomorrow either. But he's coming up next from noon to 3. You can hear from me again on Friday right here on Ticket 1430 on Twitter. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Indy Sports Ticket. You can watch the live stream there, or you can download the Indy Sports Ticket app and listen there from 10 to noon, because I'll be back again on Friday. The Dan Dockett Show coming your way here in about 5 minutes. I'll talk to you guys on Friday starting at 10 a.m.